All right, good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session for this Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021. It is 9:05 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. In the boardroom, we have Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards. Commissioner Carolina Mejia is present through Zoom. We have County Manager Ramiro Chavez and Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, as well as a host of staff members for specific agenda items. We're scheduled here till noon. We will take a break about halfway through, roughly 10:25, and then pick right back up with the agenda. The meeting is live streamed on the Thurston County YouTube channel. And with that, let's get right to item number 1, COVID-19 update. And our Director of Public Health and Social Services, Shelley Slaughter. Good morning.
Commissioner, if I may, before you start the meeting,
Yes,
I would
sir.
like to probably add on your agenda during the commission items, the request for letter of support from Tenine Hotel. I believe that needs to be part of the conversation today. And if there is time, allow me to provide some feedback on that.
Is there a particular spot on the commissioner items, like up front or at the end, or?
Maybe during commissioner items, if I may.
I'm just saying, amongst all of the commissioner items, do you want to handle that first, or?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, well, we'll just slot it in there.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Very good. Go ahead, Shelley. And Dr. Abdul-Malik, our County Health Officer, is also with us. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Commissioners. Today is day 657 of Thurston County's COVID-19 pandemic response. In Washington State, there have been 766,088 confirmed cases of COVID-19 since the pandemic began, and 9,139 in Washington State who have lost their lives. This includes 22,496 Thurston County residents that have tested positive for COVID-19. In the last week, there have been 536 new confirmed cases reported to our department. This puts us at 337.5 on the governor's risk assessment dashboard. There have been 250 Thurston County residents that have died, including 6 deaths reported to us this last week. 1,399 Thurston County residents have been hospitalized to date, with 6 new hospitalizations occurring in the last week. Our hospital capacity remains high, but that we have seen the number of COVID positive patients decline. Currently, there are 96% of our acute beds in Thurston County hospitals are full, and approximately 70% of our ICU beds are full. There are 32 COVID patients hospitalized, and 23 of those are on ventilators. We've had 104 congregate care outbreaks to date, 13 that our team are currently investigating. We still don't have test positivity rates from the state, but we do have testing widely available for those that need it. And our team is at Rochester Organization of Families today from 10 to 1, at Lacey Union Gospel Mission and Evergreen State College for the remainder of the week. There are also vaccines widely available. To date, our Thurston County vaccine providers have administered 405,483 doses of COVID-19, and we've seen our vaccine rates continue to increase, which is great news. 64% of our total population has initiated at least 1 dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. 59.2% of our total population is considered fully vaccinated. 76% of those 16 and older have initiated at least 1 dose, and 70% of those 16 and older are fully vaccinated. 74.5% of those 12 and older have initiated at least 1 dose, and 68.9% of 12 and over are fully vaccinated. Vaccines are available now for those ages 5 to 11. We don't yet have statewide data on that yet, but to date, Thurston County Public Health has administered approximately 1,500 pediatric doses of vaccine. Strongly encourage people to check our Thurston County Public Health and Social Services website for the latest information on our vaccine clinics and With that, I'll pass it to Dr. Abdelmalek.
Good morning, commissioners. Our case rates continue to decline. Today, according to the governor's risk assessment dashboard, we're at approximately 337 cases per 100,000 over the past 14 days. While this is down from our most recent peak, we are about where we peaked last winter. The majority of these cases, so more than 99% of cases sequenced in Washington state, are still due to the Delta variant. And we do know that the Delta plus variant, which some initial reports show as being about 10% more infectious, is circulating in Washington state, although we don't have specific numbers in terms of that sequencing data for the state just yet. We are coming into the holiday season, and it's more important than ever that we're mindful about how we celebrate with those we love and those who are important in our lives. In general, small gatherings are better than large gatherings. In terms of risk, outdoors is safer than indoors. And if you choose to gather indoors, having small gatherings that are well ventilated with folks that, that have protection from COVID-19 is definitely kind of that lowest risk, is in that lowest risk bracket. So for some folks, may also consider testing if they're concerned before going to an event. Although at this point for Thurston County Public Health, we are testing for folks with symptoms and those who are close contacts, and have been instructed to test for public health reasons and disease mitigation reasons. My hope is that if we're all mindful as we gather during this holiday season, we can prevent another spike in COVID-19 from occurring in our county. I also wanted to share good news about boosters. The CDC approved booster doses for people who received a complete course of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines. So this includes everyone 18 years and older who completed their full COVID-19 series of either Pfizer or Moderna 6 months ago or more. And we're able, through Thurston County Public Health, to provide those doses, as are many vaccine providers throughout our county. And with that, I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia, any questions for Shelley or Dr. Abdelmalek?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. Over the weekend, I heard about a vaccination success involving young people. And it was a study that was conducted, I believe, over four months. And it said that those in the placebo group got X number, but those in the vaccination group, it was 100% successful. And I don't know, I just have it hard. I find it hard to believe anything could be 100%, but that's what it said. So I'm asking you, either one of you, if you know anything about that, because I think that would go over pretty well with parents of young people. Do you know any? Is it too new? You folks don't know anything about it, or it was on the national news?
So while our vaccines are safe and effective, I would have to look at that specific data set to just to determine what the endpoints were and what that 100% specifically means. What we've seen over time with the vaccines is that while they're extremely effective at preventing severe illness and death from COVID-19, folks can over time become infected with the virus, but the symptoms are typically much more mild than folks that don't have that protection. But I would have to look at that specific data set to comment on the 100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Dr. A. I don't have anything. Item 2 is homeless strategies update, and Keely Marino is here from Public Health and Social Services. Good morning, Keely.
Good morning, Keely Marino, Public Health, and I just have a brief update for you, starting as always with our rental assistance from Community Action Council. They have, as of this date, served 3,064, households, spending over $21,554,000 in rental assistance. In utility assistance, they've paid out $1,025,000 or so dollars in utility assistance, and at least half of those households are households with children under the age of 18. Also, for your information, I'm sure you're aware, or now you will be aware of upcoming sweeps. So the city of Olympia has decided to move forward with sweeping Deschutes, the Deschutes encampment. That will occur on December 8th, and it is the largest encampment within Thurston County. And then also the Providence and City of Olympia have decided to sweep the upper part of Ensign Road. So from Providence Lane to Lily Road, all those vehicles will be swept. There will be no more parking along that roadway at all for any vehicles. And that sweep is intended to occur on the 16th of December. This does impact our scattered site pilot program in that those are 2 encampments that have that are identified and are served by the scattered site pilot program. We are working closely with Olympia Mutual Aid Partners and City of Olympia to support their efforts and and however we can, and are in conversation with Olympia Mutual Aid Partners of how to move forward with the scattered site pilot project. They intend to continue serving those individuals, and they're just making some thoughtful decisions about how to move forward. However, I do have some information on some of their data. The data, Olympia Mutual Aid Partners Scattered Site Pilot Program data between the dates of the 2nd of November and the 15th. In that 2-week period, they served 160 individual contacts, of which 80 of those contacts were unique, meaning that means that there could have been contact made with some of those 80 individuals more than one time. And they had 19 new individuals that they made contact with in that 2-week period. And also in that 2-week period, they were able to do 6 coordinated entry intakes, 4 people received housing vouchers, and 17 other housing referrals were made. I am happy to forward on the complete data report that I received last week from OLYMAP, if that is of interest to you. I just opened it this morning, but that was just in a 2-week period. So they are in fact making an impact in a positive way in their program, and it's only been running for about 4 months, so 4.5 months. So that's my report.
Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you, Keely. No questions.
Commissioner Edwards.
Well, I guess that's all good news to me. It sounds like somebody's finally, taking the bull by the horn, so to speak. I was gonna scold Olympia for not doing anything about this new junkyard that's starting out at the 101 exit to the courthouse. But if they're gonna do those issues, I'm gonna let that lie for a little bit, not be too critical, because I know they've got their hands full. So sounds like we're headed in the right direction. Thank you.
This question might be for county manager, or the scattered site pilot contract lasts until when? Wasn't it like a 6-month or 1 year? I can't remember. It was some sort of limited duration.
Yeah, we had it for a year. And I believe it goes through the mid of 2022, if I recall well, in terms of the dates. As Keely mentioned, since that was the focus of the scatter site pilot program, that the shoots encampment as well as the inside road. After the sweeps, we'll have to reassess the contract with them and see if there's an opportunity to continue on, or perhaps it's an opportunity to revisit that contract.
Okay, that sounds like the right approach. Thank you, Keely. Item 3 is to review the draft agenda for this afternoon's board meeting. And we will call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. We will approve an agenda, presumably, and board meeting minutes from November 9th. We'll have a presentation from Public Works, which is the introduction of Public Works employees.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Lisa Mills, the Road Operations Manager, will be introducing 3 staff members: Cynthia Bruner, Tyler Medler, and Zach Servers. And that will give the board the opportunity to welcome new county employees into the Public Works Department.
Okay, I assume there's no comments on that item. So there'll be public addressing the board and county manager update. Anything there, Romero?
I don't have any specific updates. I was trying to follow up on the November 9th conversation, and I think some of the items are included on the commissioner items, so I have nothing specific to follow up this afternoon.
Okay. Consent agenda has a number of items, A through J. 3A is a lease amendment extension with West Thurston Regional Fire Authority.
So you reviewed the draft agenda for this afternoon 2 weeks ago, and I know that some items have been added to for your consideration. So let me walk you through each one of them. And if you have any questions, let me know, or perhaps if you need additional time to revisit, we can always move those to next week if that is the pleasure of the board. So item 3A. So I would assume that you didn't hear any of the items. So I'm just going to go through each one of them.
That's fine. Go ahead.
So item 3A for your consideration is extension of the lease that we have with the West Thurston Regional Fire Authority. And at the address of 18720 Sergeant Road in Rochester, we lease office space for the sheriff's office. And that's an outpost for the sheriff's office to provide services in South County. This particular lease amendment is at number 3, and what it does is extends the lease until December 31st, 2024. The current lease lapses at the end of this year, December 31st, 2021, and this particular proposal is just extended duration, and there is not changes on the lease terms related to the financial elements of that. So it's just an extension of the lease. Any questions?
No, sir.
Question? Okay. Go ahead.
Item 3B, and this is follow up to the actually you took maybe a month ago in creating a new classification for the it is related to the Department Assistant Director. So the intended classification was to help larger departments to start seeing how their reorganization can apply to align to the business needs and providing services to the citizens. So in this particular proposal for your consideration is reclassifying a vacant one-time full-time position, which is the Public Health Division Director, into the Department Assistant Director. This particular position has been vacant, and this will give Shelley the opportunity to start seeing how the internal reorganization of public health and social services can be done to allow additional oversight, internal oversight of the business. As we know, public health, the focus has been for the last almost 2 years and respond to the pandemic. There is so many other programs the public health is responsible for. In this particular proposal, it does give the opportunity to Shelley to be provide additional oversight to the internal business that she has. This has 135 FTEs, and as we know, we have over 140 COVID-19 additional FTEs. So, and the overall budget is close to $100 million based on all the many different funding sources that we have. So this particular proposal is for you to consider reclassifying this position. The result of this will go from an impact on the budget $9,674,000 to $11,197,000. And that's just about $1,523 a month, or 14%. This particular position is covered through so many grants. There's not really a general fund related impact, and the department is not requesting any additional budget authority. They can cover this and the remainder. Obviously, this moving down the road, as Robin has stated in many occasions, will have an impact. But considering the many funding sources, I think is not an impact to the general fund. I'm particularly supportive of this. I think we've come to the point in providing assistance to the larger departments and to help the internal operations. And for your consideration is this item.
Commissioner Mejia?
So this is the deputy director position,
Is that?
but it's called department assistant director.
Yes. Thank you.
When we move to approve it from Public Works and Public Health, it said deputy director. Do we have to amend that action by the board?
No, the action that you took, you create the classification.
Okay,
At that point, you didn't create any positions.
okay,
And that was the intended purpose, just create the classifications. And by creating the classification, give the department directors, they could take advantage of that classification to see how the organization of the departments can take advantage of that action. And this is the result of that.
okay. That's it.
Commissioner Edwards?
Just a quick to the county manager probably, but is this a reclassification that's kind of consistent with what HR is trying to do? Is it part of this whole process?
Classicom?
That we've been talking about?
No, it's all the classifications are related to the overall class and compensation study. But this is more an organizational request that really the specifications does not change other than reclassifying, and it will be aligned to the new job description that you approve under the assistant director classification. That makes sense?
Okay. That's it, sir.
Okay, very good. I don't think I have any questions. Shelley, you clicked your camera on. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, sir. Just wanted to be available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. So that covers 3B and C. Let's go to, we just have, I guess, 3D is Agriculture Advisory Committee appointment, and we discussed that. Any comments on that one from the board?
No, sir.
No, sir.
We've got a reappointment to the Fair Board of one of our youth members. Any questions about that?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, and then we've got a Timberland Regional Library Board, and this is from Pacific County, approved by their commissioners, and we have to kind of go through the motions of approving that. Any questions from the board on this one?
So your action just to affirm that appointment?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. Then looking at 3G, we've got 3G and H are appointments to the Veterans Advisory Board, Anthony Moy and Tang Smith. Any questions about those?
No, sir.
Weren't we gonna ask or
Oh, right.
letters from? I have.
Yes,
some notes
good,
on that.
good recollection. We were there, we were hoping to move forward, but the board had asked for the qualifying documentation to be presented. I don't know if that got done.
Can you hear me, Tim?
I cannot hear you, Amy, if you're talking.
1 second, they're figuring out the microphone.
Okay.
Is this better?
Yes.
Perfect. So I have been in touch with Mark Moffett regarding the letters for these two applicants. They have not received the letters yet at this time, but have requested them. And the Veterans Advisory Board has asked that we keep in mind that a majority of the members need to be associated with a VSO. These two are, we have not received the letters yet. So it is at your discretion if you'd like to wait to appoint.
Commissioner Mejia.
So this was one of the questions last week when I attended the conference. I went to a veterans little conference meeting, and I asked the specific question whether any of the other counties required letters for their members to join their veterans advisory boards. Mind you, there's not many across the state. Right now, a lot of counties are developing their own veterans programs, so we're kind of ahead of the curve in that sense. But what I got from Spokane County, who's really ahead of the game, is that they do not require those letters. And so that was really good to know. I was like, okay. And it's not, per the RCW, she said they're not required, but I don't know if the letters are required per our own code and ordinance. And if that's the case, is there a way that we can amend that and then just do something else where, these veteran volunteers that are coming forward don't have to jump through so many hoops trying to get letters from a nationally recognized organization. And I believe what Spokane County does, if there's questions, they have a connection with DOD where they look up the names and they're able to track that information down very easily. So just a suggestion where maybe we look at maybe amending that.
Commissioner Edwards, anything?
No, that sounds like a good recommendation to me. I did talk with some different groups, and they said that the letter of recommendation was kind of, it was implied as a recommendation through their membership in that particular organization and membership in good standing. And that meant that they had their dues paid and that type of thing. And that was one of the concerns of one of the groups, that, well, we want to make sure that you've got members appointed to the veterans group that are in good standing. And that basically meant that they were a member and they had a card saying so, and that their dues were paid. So it kind of dovetails in with what my seatmate is saying here. So I'm okay to go ahead until we get this all done from my position, but because there's been a lot of work last week on this topic is all I can say. Quite a bit of discussion, and the groups themselves have, I don't know, had internal discussions on this topic. I'll let it go at that. I'm not that familiar with it, but it's been pretty interesting. And I suppose Mark Moffett could probably fill us in a little bit if he was available. I don't know that he was intending to be here. He's aware of it.
I have a question. So Amy, you said that the majority of the board has to be recommended. I guess that's based on our own code.
Correct.
If we appointed these two, would we still be in compliance with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need to worry that we're violating code if we go ahead with these two, and we can decide what to do later on a policy level. That sounds fine to me. Does the board want to keep these two items on the agenda today?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Yeah, okay with me.
Yeah, I think
Okay, 3 thumbs up on that.
Yeah, and we'll have the, I'll touch base with Shelley and Mark as to how we can probably look at the code related, Thurston County code related to the Veterans Advisory Board. And the letter may be one element, and perhaps that creates an opportunity for the board to consider other changes. So we'll work on that, and I appreciate you going through these appointments, and hopefully we can bring some proposals to you next year on this.
Very good. Then items 3I and 3J are auditor voucher lists. Any questions from the board?
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll go to item 4A, joint resolution with the Port of Olympia for redistricting.
Yeah, as a little bit of a background related to this item, just for the benefit of the public, early in the year, the Port of Olympia Commission was ready to take an action to put in front of the voters, moving this past November, moving from 3 commissioner representation to a 5 commissioner representation. There was a good conversation, as you may recall, a joint meeting between the 2 commissions, which both agree that perhaps the best way to approach this will be having a joint resolution, because there is a joint interest perhaps from the Board of County Commissioners as well as the Port Commissioners to look at the options of 5 commissioner representation here in the county. During those conversations, obviously as a little bit of nuances, because the Port of Olympia Commission can go in front of the voters without any restrictions. For the Board of County Commissioners, before asking the voters to approve of 5 commission representation, we need to reach a 300 population threshold. The latest numbers that we had from OFM, I believe, is 297,500. So that gets us closer to the 300,000. And if we go back to the 2020 census, that has been probably increased just about 4,000 population every year. So it is probably prudent to assume that by May, when we receive the new numbers as a result of the 2021 population, the county will probably reach $300,000, and at that point, the Board of County Commissioners will have to make a decision. So this particular resolution, I believe, was approved by the Port Commission yesterday. And I provided to you a red line item resolution where this is just to make sure, when I introduced this resolution to you 4 weeks ago, it was a little bit different. So the red line is what has changed since. So let me, they added a couple of warehouses to the resolution. I personally have any issues with the changes, but I want to make sure that if you consider passing this joint resolution this afternoon, you're well aware as to what has been added. What has been added is section 1, and let me read that out loud. Section 1, if Thurston County is determined to have at least 300,000 residents by May 2nd, 2022, then the Thurston County Board of Commissioners intends to put a question on the 5-member commission to the voters in November 2022 general election. And I believe that it serves the intended purpose of the board. Section 2, if Thurston County does not reach 300,000 residents by May 2nd, 2022, then the current Port Commission strongly recommends that the incoming 2022 Port Commission to put the question on the 5-member Port Commissioners to the voters on November 2022 general election, and that pertains more to their business. Other than that, it was an additional change in section 3, which used to be section 1. So I will stop right there to see if you have any questions related to these proposed changes. And again, if you don't feel comfortable considering approving this joint resolution today, we can always move that to next week.
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Are we on some kind of a timeline that makes a difference between doing it today versus 1 week from today? Is there any issue?
No, there's not a deadline. What I was trying to work with the Port Commissions to align the actions that you may take. That's the only reason. There is not a deadline, or there is not an expectation.
And I have no real concerns other than I hate to have a precedence where we're given material to vote on that same day. That's my only concern. I mean, it looks fine to me, but have I really digested it? No. So that's just a mild concern that I've got. I don't know how my seatmates feel about it, but it looks good.
Ramiro, was there any, I mean, I guess I'm not having the earlier draft in front of me. Is there, what was the substantive nature of the difference between this draft versus the one I looked at a few weeks ago?
The red line, I think it specifies a little bit more in section 1 what the potential options for the Board of County Commissioners. In section 2, it specifies what the Port Commission will do in the event the county doesn't reach the 300,000 population. That is really in essence, the changes. It provides an additional description of what needs to be done, but that's just my perspective. But I respect Commissioner Edwards' point of view. If you like, we can move that to next week and give the board additional time to review the proposed changes.
Chair, could I bring up just one?
Yeah, go ahead. Commissioner Edwards.
Okay. And the other piece of that is that has legal reviewed the most recent copy and everything's hunky-dory?
Yeah, yes. I touched base with Elizabeth. She doesn't have an issue.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I bring this to you.
Commissioner Mejia.
So in section 1 and section 2, I mean, so section 1 says if Thurston County is determined to have at least 300,000, then we will put it on the ballot. But then on section 2, it said if Thurston County does reach 300 residents, so.
That's not.
This.
No,
It
it
says
says
does.
does.
Oh, that's, yeah.
And the way I'm reading it, it's my understanding that the Port Commission, that 2 members are about to change.
No.
So it could be that the current commission will not bind the incoming commission.
Okay.
And that's what this is all about. So the current commission is encouraging the incoming commission to go through with this plan.
Oh, then the current Port Commission strongly recommends to the incoming, yep.
So it's all about the turnover.
Yep, okay.
So I could go either way. I mean, I'm comfortable with this because I think it's a clarification of the previous draft that I looked at closely, but I certainly don't have a problem if Commissioner Edwards would like another week.
You want another week?
No, I don't need that. That was just an issue I was bringing up just for discussion. If it coincides with what the Port of Olympia is doing and gets us more on track to do something together, I'm all for it.
Okay, Commissioner Mejia, is that okay to keep this on?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Then let's look at the next item, which is 4B, ordinance to adjust commissioner district boundary lines.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. It's also kind of related but not related to the previous item. And this is really as a result of the 2020 census. As a result of the 2020 census, population shifts between the 3 Board of County Commissioners districts, and the statute requires for the Board of County Commissioners to go through a redistricting just to ensure we achieve even number of population in each of those districts. So we started this process early in the year, and as you may recall, we were concerned that perhaps we wouldn't have the necessary data from census to give us a good perspective as to how we can propose shifting particular precincts from districts from the 3 different districts. So the proposal, result of that process is the District 2 will have a net loss of 5,455 people. As a result, District 1 will have a net gain of 3,550 people, and District 3 will have a net gain of 1,905 people. So that put us in the position to achieve just about close to 98,260 population in each of the 3 districts, which we achieved the objective. So when we presented this proposal to you, we want to make sure that we move entire precincts so we don't create additional work to the auditor's office. So this proposal was coordinated with the auditor's office. The result of moving the population is the shift in precincts 80, 307, 308, 309, 310, 311, 316, and 337 from District 2 to District 1. It moved precincts 218 and 243 from District 1 to District 3. And also we shift District 67 and 12 from District 3 to District 1. So you held a public hearing on November 9th, where you did not receive any public testimony for or against this particular proposal. So this item for you this afternoon is to consider passing a resolution where you will be approving the new boundaries for districts number 1, number 2, and number 3 for the Board of County Commissioners.
Any questions from the board?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
I didn't know if you had your hand up. Just a couple of technical things.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to include the ordinance number that we're amending? And do we need to have some clarification in there as, adjust the county commission district boundary lines as proposed by the Thurston County auditor? I'm just trying to make it so that when somebody looks at it in the future, a little more self-explanatory, that's all.
So the Thurston County auditor did not propose these changes. It was a staff recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners in coordination with the auditor's office.
Okay, I don't care,
So
I'm just trying to make it, for somebody looks at it sometime down the road, ordinance number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. That's all. I don't know if it needs to be or not.
We can add anything.
I'm not worried about it at all, I just want to get it right. So, if needed, add it, if not, I'm fine with it the way it is. I just want to get it right. So nobody can come back and say, what ordinance was that?
Because we're not rescinding an ordinance,
We're adjusting one.
We're just passing a new ordinance within the boundaries. But if you like, we can probably explain on
It says we're adjusting
the boundaries.
the boundaries, so, okay. I'm fine. Just trying to nitpicking, I guess.
We could call out, if we are indeed changing county code, we could call out county code. I'll look that up and see what it is. This is the same language as 10 years ago. We looked it up.
Just because we did it 10 years ago doesn't mean make it right. I just want to make it right.
Absolutely correct.
That's all I want to do is make
But
it
no,
right.
and we can add clarification.
Change it however you'd like.
The important thing is that you need to feel comfortable with whatever action you need to take. So
Yeah.
staff will do whatever you think is appropriate.
And I have no idea what the original ordinance was that created county boundaries.
Yeah,
That would go back 100 years.
I just want to get it right,
So-
that's all. If it's right, legal says it's right, I'm good with it. I'm not trying to nitpick you.
And the resolutions have been signed by Elizabeth.
I'm good with it.
All right, then we will look at 5A, Community Planning, Economic Development, History Book Grant Agreement Amendment.
Yeah,
Jeremy Davis.
thank you, Commissioners. This particular item is for you to consider amending the current work with the Olympia Historic Society and the Bigelow Museum, and to add additional prints of the Thurston County book that we have. This particular book, Water, Woods, and Prairies, has been extremely successful. As you may recall, that the board considered a grant and to issue those printed books, and the result of that, it has been a well-received book. This is a follow-up to the Heritage Guide that was published in 1992, And the postmark Thurston County, it was published in 1988. This particular proposal for your consideration is to amend the agreement, the grant agreement, to add an additional 500 softbound and 250 hardbound books, for a total of 750 softbound and 475 hardbound books. Jeremy Davis is here to answer any questions related to this proposal.
Questions for Jeremy? Commissioner Mejia?
No questions.
Commissioner Edwards?
Jeremy, thanks for your hard work on this.
Thank you, sir. I do have one point of clarification. I noticed one error in the AIS. It's a total of 740 softbound books for the additional, for the total number for the grant.
745?
740, sir.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Let's go to Public Works 6A. Request for proposal for a biosolids hauling and disposal services contract.
Yes, for your consideration, Commissioners, is to authorize the Department of Public Works to issue a request for proposals for disposal from county-owned operated wastewater treatment plants facilities. Public Works, as you may know, owns and operates 3 activated sludge water treatment plants, which includes the Grand Mount, Thomashan, and Boston Harbor. This particular proposal is to secure the services to the transportation and disposal of the sludge as a result of those processes. I believe when you review this item, there was a couple of questions from Commissioner Edwards, I believe, asking a little more specificity in terms of the tonnage and the cost and everything else. So the response to that is the county spends about $58,000 in biosolids hauling and disposals in 2020. As of August 2021, we have spent approximately $52,000 for biosolids hauling and disposal, and we are projecting by the end of this year, we will spend approximately $80,000. With this reduction of sewer flows in 2020, so the 2021 projected expenditures may be the reflection of the future years. The way it works is the sludge is from Thomashan and Boston Harbor is brought to the Grand Mount area, the Grand Mount wastewater facility, and that is where the focal point of the transportation and disposal of this particular proposal. I believe that some of the questions you've had, Commissioner Edwards, I was not here, but I think if I missed any questions, answering your question, please let me know.
Part of my concern is that we're disposing of it properly when we do dispose of it. And I don't think we're getting into that at this point in time. We have to do something with it, so we have to have a contract to do that.
Right.
And I guess that's probably another topic to make sure that we're not detrimental to the environment, I guess.
And that is an excellent point. And the way we go through a contract related to transportation and disposal, any outfit or any contractor who is selected to provide the services, they have to meet all the regulations outlined in the state law. So that is something that we have the obligation to make sure that that is the case. So we wouldn't just give a contract just to dispose. It has to be location driven and making sure they meet all the requirements of the state law.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No, sir.
I think Public Works is here to answer any questions.
I see Joe Plahoud is here, but I think we're good, Joe. Thanks for being here.
All right, thank you, commissioners.
Okay, item 7 is county manager items. The commissioners reporting on work sessions or community events, the county manager reviewing schedule, and then adjournment. So we have 2 public hearings, and I'm optimistic that they'll start close to 3 p.m. because the agenda after we get through consent is fairly, I think, straightforward. So 3 o'clock or shortly thereafter, we'll have a public hearing regarding the Housing and Urban Development 2020 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, I think they call it.
Yeah.
Ramiro, anything we need to address here?
No, this is that we, as a requirement before we sent to the Housing and Urban Development a performance report, the legislative authority needs to hold a public hearing. And for your consideration this afternoon is for two items. One is to close the public hearing, and the second, depending on the public testimony you might receive, is for you to consider to accept the consolidated contract, and that will be for your consideration. The second public hearing is related to the countywide home fund. And so far we have received many written public testimony. Tom Webster will highlight this afternoon how many in support and how many in opposition. But also we have received close to 80 who signed up for the Zoom meeting this afternoon. Don't know if all of them will provide a testimony, that I'm expecting that we will have a significant public testimony this afternoon.
So, sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, in light of that, that's kind of what I was expecting just based on the written volume that I've already seen myself. And I was going to suggest to the board that we limit comment to 3 minutes. Because what tends to happen is we lose people that don't have 3 hours to wait, and I don't want to lose people's ability to give their 2 cents. 4 minutes was really about the normal board meetings where we have like 2 or 3 people. With this volume, I think we shouldn't allow more than 3 minutes, but I'd like to hear my seatmate's point of view on that.
I'm fine with that.
Fine with that, yeah.
Okay,
Makes sense.
So I will appreciate it if you can highlight at the beginning of the meeting. Also, if I may, I will encourage all the members of the public who would like to testify, although they have 3 minutes, if they'd like to provide their perspective in less than 3 minutes, I will encourage them to do that.
Yes.
And it's just to be respectful to the perhaps 80 other public testimony you may receive. And again, for your consideration this afternoon is only one action. Is as for you to consider closing the public hearing. There is no other item related to this particular matter. This conversation, I will bring that back next Tuesday, November 30th. And at that point, you will have in front of you all the public testimony you received. And then I will ask what will be the pleasure of the board moving forward on this particular matter.
You're going to have that on a Tuesday morning agenda setting?
Yeah. Or would you like to have a separate, I mean, that's the normal course of action when we have public.
Yeah, we can take it up maybe at the end of the hearing. I'm guessing that based on the volume of comment we're going to get that I've already gotten, frankly, the board would probably want to have a dedicated sort of discussion, not mixed up in the context of a Tuesday morning agenda setting, but we'll see.
Yeah, I can certainly schedule a specific briefing to go through. So, okay, that's a good perspective. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the board about that before we move on to the next agenda? Okay, that'll close up today, Tuesday. And now the next item on the morning's agenda is to review the proposed agenda for November 30th. That meeting would be called to order at 2 p.m. There would be a Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Mejia, approval, consideration of the agenda and meeting minutes from this afternoon's meeting, opportunity for the public to address the board, county manager's update per usual. There are 3 proposed consent items. Item 3A is a general obligation bond 2021 fund 2330.
Yeah, thank you. This is a technical request for the board to consider creating a new fund. It will be 2330, and that's a general obligation bond to pretty much park all the ERP general obligation issuance that we went through this year. It's just to make sure that we have a specific fund as to how we're going to be managing the bonds associated with the ERP funds. And Robin can elaborate more if you have any questions.
Commissioner Mejia?
No questions.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Okay. Item 3B, Fund 3230 and abolish Fund 5270, large system general obligation bonds.
In similar nature, this proposal is to create this for the large systems, general fund obligations that we issue already, is to make sure that we create a new fund related to the what we call is the government fund to hold all the debt related to this particular process. Back, the board created a new fund for this particular activity, but it was determined that perhaps it will be a more streamlined. We can abolish that fund, which is the, I believe it's Fund 5270, and create a Fund 3230. And that will align really with the previous items. It's more of a technical move just to make sure that we align everything related to the bonds, the government bonds that we have issued. And again, Robin is here to answer any questions.
Questions for Robin from the board?
No, sir.
I do have just a couple, and it really applies to both of them because I know very little about both A and B. And don't we have a financial advisory group, the treasurer and the auditor and the county manager or something that gets together and discusses these issues? I mean, isn't that part of the game plan?
Yes.
So we're dependent on your recommendations as we move forward, I take it.
These have been approved by that advisory committee before they came to the board.
Okay, and then whoever our financial person is in legal realm, I don't know if that's Elizabeth or if it's another attorney or if we have a bond attorney that reviews things. So everything's been through the sausage maker and it's now coming to us.
It has, Elizabeth approves these actions.
Oh, does she?
Along
Okay.
with all the rest. These are coming to you now. As Romero said, they are purely technical. At the time we issued the bonds, we set up these funds. For whatever reason, item A never got onto an agenda or was signed by the board, so that's coming to you now. And item B, at the time we issued the bonds, Financial Services asked to have this set up as an inter-fund. That's a fund that begins with the number 5. But now we're a few months in and they called me and said, hey, that really should have been a capital fund. Capital funds begin with the number 3. So they asked me to abolish the internal fund and set up a capital fund. And that's item B. It's strictly a BAR's manual accommodation.
And when this comes up on the 30th, you can give the public that just real quick explanation or something.
I certainly can.
Okay.
Totally technical.
So allow me to draw a parallel to this. As you may recall, the board approved creating a new fund for the ARP funds, right? To park everything in a single fund. This is in a way technical in nature because it will allow us to really track all the debt related to the bonds as to how we're going to be paying out the intended purposes of that bond. And also we keep track of arbitrage laws and everything else, and without getting too much into the technical aspects of that. But really, it just allows it to bring all that money, track it in a single fund, and making sure that whatever payouts is related to the activities in which those bonds were issued.
Always exciting to abolish something. I think there's a missing word. Like, shouldn't it say create Fund 3230 and abolish Fund 5270?
Yes, I noticed that as well.
Because it's kind of confusing when it just says Fund 3230. You're not sure if fund is a verb or a noun, and I think it's intended to be a noun. Okay, So with that little tweak, we will go on to the voucher service list, financial services. Oh, I have one more question. On Commissioner Edwards' point about the committee, what's the name of the advisory committee that he was referring to? It's not the finance committee, because that's what I sit on about overall financial strategy. But what's the committee that he's talking about?
He's talking about the Financial Management Committee.
There we go. I wanted to hear the name.
They are subtle name difference, and the things that they discuss are related but different.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
And just to provide additional perspective, the membership of the FMC is the county treasurer, the county auditor, and the county manager, with the help of capable staff, of course.
Right.
Whereas the finance committee is the county auditor, the county treasurer, and the chair of the board.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Then we're on to, looks like item 4A, Thurston County Comprehensive Plan Amendment, Tumwater Joint Plan.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. This is a follow-up to the direction you provided. I believe on November 2nd, where the majority of the board provided direction to staff to bring this proposal before you, which includes the recommendations by the Tumwater Planning Commission as well as the City Council. This particular proposal is part of amendments of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan, including the sub-area plans of the joint plans with the City of Tumwater. The Tumwater Joint Plan describes the long-term vision of the Tumwater urban growth area, looking ahead to set direction for growth over the next 20 years. This has been a long, in a way, process. The Planning Commission has received public testimony, provided recommendations to you, and you held a public hearing. On, I believe, September 28, 2021. As a result of that, you had a couple follow-up briefings, and this is the result of that process. I believe Maya or Leah are present here to add additional perspective to this particular item.
Commissioners, any questions needed for Leah? Commissioner Mejia?
No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, I guess the county manager made reference to the Municipal Planning Commission for Tumwater, I believe it was, that they were recommending this as proposed here. And, but the fact that our own planning commission did not recommend that. So I just want to clarify that to the public, because they're going to wonder why I voted against it when we've got conflicting recommendations, that's all. I just want to make sure that the public is aware that there's reasons for our discussions, and I'm not going to go into length on this. It's a democratic process, but I just want the public to know that we did have maybe unsettled conflict, and that's, I'm not saying that's good or bad, it's just the way it is. And so I'll be taking a contrary vote, is all based on our own planning commission.
Yeah, good clarification, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Edwards. Just to clarify for the public and for the record, the Thurston County Planning Commission did produce a different recommendation than the joint plan that's attached. And they did recommend approval of all of the items that is included in the draft joint plan within this resolution, with the exception of one section, and that is 11.1.6 recommended code amendments, I think is the title. We might know better, but you are correct. There was a section that is included in this joint plan resolution that the Planning Commission for Thurston County did not include in their recommendation.
I would just add that, kind of following up on Maya's comment, that I felt that the difference between the two was fairly minor, and the item that was not adopted by our Planning Commission was kind of a checklist of things to be addressed. So I felt comfortable including it. I didn't feel like it was a major a major rift because the major pieces were agreed. And if the public would like to hear more detail about that, we had at least, I believe, 2 different work sessions where the arguments on both sides were gone into in great detail. So I'd encourage them to take a look at that.
Chair,
anything else from the board? Yeah.
I just might point out there's also public comment that the public could review if they wanted to. That, you know, so there was a lot of different pieces that went into this puzzle.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Maya and Leah. Let's look at 5A under emergency services, fiscal year 21 emergency management performance grant E22-147.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration is for the county to accept a grant of $128,135. That is coming from the federal government to perform duties within the emergency management department. This performance period of this contract is from June 1st, 2021 to August 31st, 2022. This particular funding provides support for local emergency management programs and capabilities throughout the state. This funding is primarily used to support Thurston County emergency preparedness, public education programs, resource management, and logistics planning. And Kurt Harding, the Director of Emergency Services, is here to add additional perspective on this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kurt Harding, Director of Emergency Services. The county manager did a great job doing the summary of this. The only thing I would add is this is an annual grant that we received, so therefore it's already a placeholder in the 2022 budget, and it's already part of the 2021 budget, and no additional county funds are needed or required for this grant.
Perfect. Thank you, Kurt. Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No, thank you, Kurt.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Nope. Good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6A is a public works item, contract award for moderate risk waste transportation and disposition management services.
Yeah, Commissioner, before we go into this item, you will see a new item on your agenda for next week, and this is from Public Health. I just want to give you a heads up. It will be related to the food worker training program that we have, and this is a contract that we'll have with the Tacoma-Pierce County Health Department. So I just want to give you a heads up. The item will be coming up on your agenda next week. So more details I will brief you next week on that as well. So item 6A for your consideration is for you to award the contract to Act Enviro of Kent, Washington for $500,000 to provide services on the risk waste transportation and disposition. As you know, we have a facility for the citizens of Thurston County, what we call the Hustle House. The Hustle House is a collection of proper management of household hazardous waste, and this is giving services to county residents at no cost. The board authorized going through a request for proposals, and on September 30th, 2021, the department receives 2 proposals related to this particular waste transportation and disposition of this hazardous materials. The result of that process is for you to consider awarding the contract to Act Enviro of Kent, Washington for $500,000. And the performance contract, it will be a maximum of 5 years. Jeff Burford, the solid waste manager, is here to add additional perspective related to this item.
Jeff, anything up front?
Actually, I just wanted to, the county manager did a good job in describing it. Just want to mention that at Hasso House, we receive approximately 25,000 customers through that facility every year, and they drop off over 100 tons of waste that we manage. And county employees actually manage the facility, but we do not are unable to perform this particular task. So this service is definitely necessary to take care of the materials that we collect.
Commissioner Mejia, question?
What kind of materials is this? I'm still kind of.
So it's the household hazard materials. I myself have taken those, for instance, old fertilizers.
Okay.
That type of chemicals they use in household. And those are taken.
Paint thinner.
Paint thinners, all the house. We don't take industrial. Just want to make sure that industrial, the hazard materials, we don't take those. But it's household hazard materials we do. Okay. And what we do is really a fantastic program that we provide to our citizens. And the result of that, we avoid, as Jeff stated, we avoid going into the landfill and pollute the environment. So this is a fantastic program the county has done for many, many years.
Okay.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes. Maybe just a comment that maybe it could include in the description. The community knows this activity is Hazel House. And I just wonder if it couldn't be in there. So when people are reading through our activities, they know, because without that in there, they really don't know what we're talking about in some cases. So that would be a suggestion. And then who had this contract last for how long?
It's been it's Clean Earth, who was one of the proposers, is the current contractor, and they were now working with ACT Enviro.
Oh, okay, so it's kind of a combination, the same outfits doing it, just different name?
Well, no, actually, so there were two proposers. ACT Enviro was one of them, and Clean Earth was the other proposer. And Clean Earth is the one that is currently performing that service right now. So they proposed, but they at this point were not the successful or highest scoring proposer.
Okay, and this is $500,000 per year?
That would be over the length of the contract.
Okay, so during the 5-year period, it's going to be 500,000. Okay,
correct.
100,000 a year, say. And how much did that cost us over the past 5 years? I'm just trying to think about inflation here.
Oh goodness, I would have to go and do some research on that. I don't have that readily available right now.
How about even last year? Did you know that? Or is there somebody that would know? I mean, I just wonder if we're, is it costing us 10% more, or is it costing us 5% less?
Actually, based upon, we looked at our current costs, the cost has gone up a little bit from what we are paying currently over the previous fiscal year by about 6%. So it'd be about a 6% increase over what we paid over the previous year for the same material. And that is going with ACT Environmental. With Clean Earth, that increase would have been much more significant. They actually came in quite a bit higher with their proposal.
And then as the new vendor, I guess, takes care of this product, apparently we were satisfied with maybe the old contractor. I don't know that. I'm just saying they must have handled this product properly that they're disposing of. And do we know the new one? Are they going to, do we have checks and balances in there to make sure it doesn't get dumped in the river somewhere? That's all I'm saying, asking.
Exactly. And that was part of the criteria that we were basing on, was on past performances, references, their qualification, their experience, personnel. Both of these companies are very, very experienced, and both are capable of performing this without any issues. They have the correct facilities, the proper licensing, et cetera, the proper trucks and that kind of thing. So they're both entirely capable. Absolutely.
Okay, I guess I'm probably being picky about this because I'm a little sensitive about, do they have all the right facilities and such? Because we went through, we've recently went through some contract stuff that, well, maybe I don't have the right facilities today, but I'll have them built by tomorrow. I'm just kind of curious if we're on top of things like that.
Yeah, it's very rigorously permitted as far as through ecology, as far as the types of facilities that they have to take these things to, as well as the licensing of the people that handle it and the people that haul it. It's very heavily controlled. So yes, these and both of these companies work actively with other county and municipal jurisdictions as well. So there's quite a back history for each of these companies of working with this type of thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Jeff, can you revise the description to add a reference to the Hassel House as requested?
Okay, Commissioner Edwards covered my questions, so with that, we can.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
Excuse me?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, if you can revise the description of the item to include a reference to the Hassel House.
Certainly.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 7 is county manager items, standing items, and we'll adjourn. At 3 p.m., there is a public hearing regarding the renewal and amendment of interim emergency housing ordinance 15792.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration. You have 2 items next week. One is to close the public hearing, and for your consideration, depending on the public testimony, is for you to approve this interim ordinance, emergency housing ordinance.
That's something we've done multiple times.
And this particular ordinance lapses on December 9th. So if the board wants to renew that particular emergency ordinance, this is the timeline this staff has laid out for you to take that action.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board before we break?
No, sir.
All right, it's 10:21. We'll take a recess. We'll be back at 10:35, picking up with item 5 on this morning's agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. We're back at the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners agenda setting work session. It's Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021. It's 10:37 a.m. We are picking back up with item 5, proclamations and awards.
Good morning, Amy Davis, Clerk of the Board. There are no proclamations for review this morning or for the rest of the year.
Perfect. Then we can go straight to advisory boards and commissions.
Yes, we have a slew of applications and one additional item for boards and commissions today. Starting with the applications, the first is from Kenneth Jones for reappointment to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee as a tax collecting member. This is the last appointment for this committee, and they have the required 2 meetings scheduled to take place before the end of the year, so they can accept applications next year. Would you like to include Ken's reappointment on the consent agenda of the 30th?
For Ken Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Mejia?
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
Commissioner Edwards?
Good.
All right. Sounds like we're good there.
Thank you. We've also received an application for reappointment from Fran Sant for the Noxious Weed Control Board. There is one other vacancy on the board, and no other applications have been received, and Fran would like to reapply. Would you like to take this application back for review and circle back next week, or also include on the consent agenda of the 30th?
I'm okay with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Sounds like both of us are good with it, Chair.
Yeah, I'm just taking a glance at the application real quick.
Okay.
Given that it's a reappointment and we have a vacancy, additional vacancy, I will go ahead and agree to that.
Thank you. Next is an application for the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board. Per Resolution 15450, SWAB can review the qualifications of the applicant and provide a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners prior to appointment. So SWAB has the application and will review, and after that, I will bring the recommendation back to you. So just
Sounds good.
informational.
Thank you.
So last of the applications are from Carly Schiffner and Mary Beth Harrington for the Timberland Regional Library Board of Trustees. Both would be new appointments for the vacant Thurston County seat. These were provided last week for review, and I believe a perspective from TRL may have also been shared with you. So if there is any direction from the board on these, I would be happy to take that.
When you say there's been a perspective from the, what did you say about that?
And perhaps not, I believe representatives from TRL may have touched base with 1 or 2 of the commissioners' offices to provide their perspective. Perhaps not. And I
Okay, Commissioner Mejia?
Touch base with me, so I was like confused.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
If I may, I was going to suggest, and I'm not, this is really just a suggestion to see if the board has interest, but this is the TRL seats are pretty important, and we've got the 2 applicants that we have, I think, are very strong on paper, and there's been some discord on this board, and I think it's important that we get it right on this appointment. So I was going to suggest perhaps the board interview the candidates so that we can make sure that we're making the right selection. I think this is a pretty important one, given the state of this board and the nature of the work that they do. And the fact their resumes look both pretty strong from my perspective.
Could we invite as well the executive director for Timberland?
Yes, but I think it will be a very difficult discussion the executive director will have with those potential appointments, because those individuals will be their bosses.
Yeah.
So she will not be able to provide a perspective. I think really the approach the commissioner is outlining is probably prudent considering what has occurred, and for you to take the time to interview Commissioner, your proposal is to actually have an interview with 3 commissioners and individuals, or you will have individual commissioners given those applicants one call?
It's really hard for me to hear you, Ramiro. I'm not sure what's going on with the miking, but I did hear what you said. I was thinking as a board.
Somewhat of a public interview process.
Yeah.
Yep, if that's a concurrence.
I'm good with that. I am kind of curious about what Amy said earlier, because I haven't been contacted, so I don't know, you say somebody is gonna contact us, there's a little bit of concern or something.
Perhaps not. I'll follow up.
Pardon?
I can follow up with TRL on that and see if there was a plan to.
Did you get contacted, Commissioner Munster?
I didn't get contacted. I believe that I had my assistant contact Cheryl just to ask generically, like, what are you looking for? You know, what would the organization benefit from in terms of skill set? I don't think I got any contact about these applicants. So I was trying to figure out, you know, is there kind of like with the housing authority where we heard, oh, they really need someone with accounting experience, or they really need this or that. I was curious if the Timberland Regional Library Board was missing a skill set of one sort or another. And Thomasina is handing me, who is this from? Okay, but that's basically what I'm talking about. So my office touched base with Cheryl Haywood just about the skill sets that might be most useful to the board, but that's it. I don't know. I don't really know anything about the applicants.
I'm good with the interview.
Okay, I'll work with Amy just to make sure we set up, would that be a 15 minutes, 30-minute interview, you think, or?
Something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it could even go in on, you know, on Thursdays we get together and talk about issues, something like that. Just kind of squeeze it in as part of that agenda or something.
Yeah,
I would allot 30 minutes per candidate, and if we cut it short, that's great. But
okay, we'll work on that, and I'll work with Amy to make sure we align those interviews.
thank you. Sounds great. Appreciate that. Okay, what's next, Amy? We want to deal with Planning Commission?
Yes. So the second item for boards and commissions is regarding the Planning Commission and growing concerns on extended absences and missed meetings.
Can you say that again? I can't quite.
Growing concerns on extended absences and missed meetings.
Oh, okay.
So the Planning Commission Rules of Procedure, Section 8C, states in the event of a member being absent without excuse from 3 consecutive regular meetings, or being absent without excuse from 50% of all meetings, including committee, in any 6-month period, the member's record shall be forwarded by the chair of the commission to the Board of County Commissioners for consideration of asking for the member's resignation. Last week, we received the information per request of the Planning Commission Chair, Jim Simmons, due to Donna Nickerson's and Raul DeLon's extended absences. And though new appointments for the Planning Commission are nominated by the commissioner of the district the seat is in, it is stated that these requests be brought to the full board. So this is here for your consideration of asking for their resignations and to provide the highlighted attendance records on the front page of the boards and commissions in your packet.
Amy, I have a clarifying question. Is this just being forwarded kind of as a pro forma, like, okay, I'm supposed to tell you if they've missed and so they have, and so here's the facts, or has the Planning Commission, are they specifically recommending that we take action, or is there anything more than just the just trying to provide us the facts?
Yes, it is here for your consideration of asking for their resignations.
That's what the Planning Commission is asking us to do.
The chair of the Planning Commission, yes.
Is that Scott? Is the chair? Who's chair?
Jim Simmons.
Jim Simmons is chair. Okay.
I can say two things about Ms. Nickerson. Just number one was she and I actually reached out to her about some of the mid-year absences. She felt like she had gotten that issue for resolved for her own schedule, but then she had a health issue recently that caused her to miss this last meeting. But all that said, she was, I think, she and I discussed whether or not she needed to step down because of all of this, and I think it was her intent to resign. I will touch base with her and confirm that, but it may be a moot point with her, is what I'm trying to get at, because I think it was her intent that she should step down. But I can confirm that. I don't know anything about Mr. DeLeon's situation.
Okay, I have a question, not necessarily in regard to these. I see that there's a vacancy. Have we had applications put in for that vacancy on 2?
I believe we had received 1 or 2 applications that were forwarded to your office. I can follow up.
Is there, yeah, I mean, I don't know when they became vacant, or was that a long time ago, maybe?
No, it's been
maybe
Month or 2?
Yeah.
Because I know I've got a pending interested individual that was passed up one time before and has still expressed his interest. And I don't know who's the other one. Say 2 vacancies. 2 applicants have come in.
I think there was 2 that came in. I can follow up and confirm.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do, if it's my district, I'd like to have some people on. I mean, we want to make sure we got enough people on there to address the needs. I mean, it looks like we have some people that make every meeting, and then a few have missed a few.
So with Mr. De Leon, I'm not sure what's going on with him, but it looks like he's missed meetings since August. So if it's the recommendation of the Planning Commission to request his resignation, I'm in support of it. I haven't heard from Mr. De Leon, so I'm not sure what's going on there. So since that is in my district,
let me just make a suggestion. When are we gonna move forward on 2? We can do 2 of them at the same time, maybe. Is what I'm wondering about, if you've got an idea for somebody from your district.
no, I would have to open it up.
Okay.
Just for people to.
So I know there's a Commissioner, it was going to review some potential applicants of District 2, and that will bring forward a recommendation for the board's consideration.
I guess what I'm trying to prevent from happening is the board having vacancies, and then somebody starts missing, and then what can we even function at that?
Well, but the fact of the matter is, they have been operating under those conditions because the 2 members have not attended those meetings in vacancies. So
I wonder what the difference is on unexcused versus excused. I'd like to know more about that. I mean, if somebody calls in and says, well, I've got a health issue and I can't make that meeting, then.
That's excused. Unexcused is when they don't call.
Unexcused is they don't notice. Don't even tell us anything?
No, that's my understanding. Unexcused is they just don't show up to the meeting.
Huh. I see somebody there on the screen. Chris probably has something to add to that. I don't know.
Go ahead, Chris. Do you have anything?
I was just going to clarify for the board that you're correct. Unexcused is that we don't receive any communication from the commission member prior to the planning commission meeting. Excused are those absences in which they have made it known that they would not be able to attend those meetings either at the prior planning commission meeting or to the planning commission secretary.
So somebody else, I mean, like Jim could miss the meeting, but he called in and said, I can't be there because of X, Y, or Z, so he doesn't get a demerit, right?
So that doesn't highlight, as highlighted.
Yeah, okay, I just wondered how it worked.
So based on the conversation, commissioners, are you in agreement to follow up with a recommendation from the chair of the commission to pass the resignation of those 3 board members? That will be Ms. Donna Nicholson and Mr. Raul De Leon, based on the number of unexcused absences.
Well, I guess I heard from the chair that he was planning on speaking to one. Do we want to wait on it and do it next meeting or something like that? I don't know. I'm okay with following whatever the process is. It says 50%, you know, so. Looks like
Is the proposal to do this today?
Well, and you know, unless you have a different alternative.
Well, I mean, I'm just a little uncomfortable because I just met with Ms. Nickerson last month and we talked about her potentially resigning. And then for me to take action and remove her when she was in the hospital and I haven't doubled back with her,
right.
I feel that I don't feel like that's going to create, I think, a miscommunication that's not warranted.
And I kind of sympathize with the chair on that issue.
If I may, the proposed action for the commissioners to consider is not to take the action to remove those members, is to send a letter asking for their resignation.
Oh, okay.
Well, that versus a voluntary letter probably is.
That's the recommendation.
I don't think we want to start causing any hard feelings on our boards and commissions any more than we have to.
I don't mind to send a letter, you know, as long as it's kind of a form letter, like based on these absences and the planning commission recommendation. There's been this recommendation, and you know, I mean, as long as it's kind of by the numbers type of a.
Well, it will be highlighting the planning commission rules procedures and highlighting the number of absences. As a result, this is the action recommended by the planning commission chair to request for your resignation. I think it has to be pretty straightforward on that, if that is how the board likes to move on this request.
Yeah, I'm okay with that because as that letter is being drafted and mailed, I have a chance to reach out to Ms. Nickerson. I just didn't want her to hear that I removed her today when that's not how things were left between us last month.
I understand it. No, that's not the intent today, Commissioner. It's just to whether the board will consider sending that letter asking for the resignation. That's the request.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm okay if the chair is okay. I was kind of watching out.
Yeah, okay. Well, I will reach out, but go ahead. I mean, I think we're okay for you to follow that procedure, that proposed process, Romero.
Hey, Chris, did you hear? Let's work on drafting the letter.
I guess I would just remind my seatmates as we get. It sounds like each one of us is going to have an open seat, and so because Commissioner Edwards has already got a vacancy, and it sounds like the 2 new vacancies are going to be one for Commissioner Mejia and one for myself. And I would just remind the commissioners that, if it's helpful, that each of us have 3 seats, 2 of which have to live in our district, but 1 can be at large. So like in my case, my 2 commissioners live in my district, and I think Commissioner Edwards is the same, which means that our 3rd appointment could live anywhere in the county as our at-large district appointment. That might make it easier to recruit or to sort of get this process, you know, moving forward. You're not stuck with finding somebody that lives in your district unless you've already have somebody out of district, and I'm not sure any of us do. I know I do not.
I do see that Raul, I think it is, from District 1, he's 61% short, which is over the 50, and Donna is 42, so she's just kind of getting close. There's 2 different categories missed. I'm okay with however you want to proceed, Chair. That's what it looks like. I mean, looks like you've got the bugaboo problem more than anybody else.
61% is.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Chris, can you draft the letter? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll work on that and we'll circulate for your signature. We will not be sending via e-signatures. You will have the opportunity to sign those letters.
Okay, so that's advisory boards and commissions.
You know, being as those are district appointments or something, should the commissioner of each district, I don't know. I want it to work for ties.
It's a board appointment. So.
Is it board appointment? Okay, good enough.
Okay, that makes us PIO check-in, item 7.
Good morning, commissioners, county manager, assistant county manager, Brian Dominique, public information officer for the board. I believe there was some conversation a couple weeks ago about the Friday 5, so I have some numbers on that. As a reminder, the Friday 5 is our weekly e-newsletter. Readership for that newsletter is still steady at about 50%. Industry average for a newsletter like this is 23%, so we're doing pretty good in that category. Our click-through rate, or people selecting links to get additional info about some of the stuff we publish, is at 9%. This is down down 6%. We normally hover around 15%, but we're still well above the industry average, which is 2%. So we're pretty good there too. And we continue to see subscribers to the newsletter grow. We average about 20 new subscribers every 30 days. And all this is to say that that weekly newsletter continues to be an effective tool for us. So we're excited to continue to provide that. And then we just had a conversation about boards and commissions, so this is a timely update. I'm continuing to work with Amy on laying out some tactics we can use to share information and recruit new members for our boards and commissions. This includes sharing opportunities with local colleges and universities and other community forums as an example study, and then identifying other community organizations and partnerships we can work with to share these opportunities. We'll be looking at moving forward with some of those tactics early next year, but right now we're using more of our defined tools that we have already. This includes our homepage, the Friday 5 newsletter, social media, the county news page, and any community blogs and forums, thinking like Thurston Talk, to get that information out there. We've published a story on 2 opportunities on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and that's available on our homepage as well. And then we also did something with Thurston Talk on the stormwater board. I think it's SWAB. So that's out there now as well. And then I just want to highlight something from Public Works. Our solid waste division with Public Works has launched a new weekly video cast called Talkin' Trash. New episodes are released every Wednesday and cover a variety of topics. From ways to reduce food waste or how to recycle certain items. It's a really great resource, even though the episodes are short, but they are packed with a ton of information. Those are available on the Thurston County YouTube channel.
I like the title.
Yeah, it used to be a newsletter, so they just rebranded it. And then I also just want to highlight National Adoption Day. Last Thursday, Thurston County Superior Court hosted the county's 17th annual Adoption Day celebration. So 4 local families finalized their adoptions, and Miss Thurston County was there to share her own adoption story. And I'm working on a story right now for publication in the Thurston Talk, so we'll get some good coverage on that. And then finally, I'm continuing with communications planning for our 2022-2023 strategic communications plan. This plan is going to center on refining processes and procedures to better operationalize all the communications tools we have developed over the last 3+ years. And then I'll also have an annual report for the Board of County Commissioners on our 2021 communications activities. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Thanks for that. That was a good one.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards, anything for Brian? All right. That takes us to item 8, legislative update.
Yeah, just a brief note. This is just mainly for the benefit of the public. Each commissioner has, with me and Robin and Deborah Mangia, has been meeting individually with legislative delegation to present our legislative agenda for next year. Those meetings have been going well. I think we need to have a couple follow-ups with a couple of representatives. So I just want to inform the public that That's what we have been doing related to the legislative agenda for Thurston County for 2022.
Questions for Ramiro about that?
No, sir.
Okay. We've got briefing, public hearing, decisions pending next.
None pending. Thank you.
None. All right. Commissioner items. Item 1, RV parking MOU, next steps, discussion / direction.
Yeah, Commissioners, I just want to, I don't want to revisit some of the conversations that you had related to this MOU, related to the RV parking. I'd just like to have a couple of directions on that. My presumption and assumption is the phase 1 of this particular MOU, which was using the Carpenter site as a temporary house for 15 to 20 RVs, that is off the table. I just want to confirm that with the board. If I get confirmation, I will follow up in rescinding the permit application that we have pending. So with that, please give me your concurrence on that phase 1 of this MOU.
Oh, I want to give you my concurrence that Carpenter Road is out.
Yep.
So however you're going to do it.
Yeah, just to touch on that, there was an article on the Olympia and, you know, it was disappointing the way it was framed, but yes, has my concurrency.
Commissioner Messer, this is the question for phase 1 of the MOU.
Yeah, I was outvoted on this one, so.
Okay, so moving
That remains
forward,
okay.
you will see that I will be following up and rescinding the permit application related to this item. So the next question that I have for you is related to phase 2 of this MOU. And the phase 2 is related to a partnership with the City of Olympia to purchase the Franz Anderson Road property. And this has a more long-term strategy with the City of Olympia. The Franz Road and roadside property is located within the city boundaries of Olympia. And there's an opportunity to partner the purchasing with the city as well as part of the Regional Housing Council to provide a long-term relief for the RVs and Ensign Road because the activities the City of Olympia is going to be exercising on December 15 is going to take care of just a portion of Ensign Road. This particular proposal will address all of them, all the RVs located in Ensign Road. I'd just like to hear the perspective from the board related to whether you'd like to support this particular purchase. Also, I just want to be very clear, the feedback that you receive on the Carpenter Road, you may receive the same feedback from the nearby property owners. So since I'm asking for direction whether we want to partner with the City of Olympia to purchase this property, as you may recall, that the board put a draft to set aside ARPA funds to purchase a property or a motel. It will come out of that funding. But if something comes down the road, you know, I really need the support from the board if that is the direction that we need to move and partner with the City of Olympia to find more of a long-term relief to the RVs located in Ensign Road. That is my request at this point, is the board is supporting the partnership with the City of Olympia to go ahead and purchase Anderson Road as well as the potential development of this property.
Commissioner Edwards, hand.
I guess my concern at this point is, are we getting the cart before the horse, so to speak? And the reason I say that, has Olympia done their due diligence with their community in holding whatever hearings they're going to have and have made a positive decision that they are moving forward? I don't want to buy a piece of property and be involved in buying a piece of property and then find out, well, that isn't going to pan out. So that's my concern. And I know apparently other properties have been looked at around Olympia, and I think Tom can verify that with, numerous other properties were explored. I don't know what those properties are, but I know beings we're talking about a temporary location, you know, Olympia bought a big bunch of property out off of Yelm Highway or something, and if it's gonna just be temporary, you know, why not something like that, or more of an industrial area like around the old city hall? Because you're right, I don't know anything about the property on Franz Road, and I don't know if it's a residential area close by or if it's all industrial. But by committing to something that the city of Olympia doesn't even know if they're gonna move ahead on, is that being premature? That's all, I just asked that question to see if there is an answer, because I've been pushing that they ought to be located down at the old city hall public works lot that seems like it's sitting there empty. I know maybe the fire department uses as much foul for training, but I mean, I think that's a more likely spot. It's kind of consolidating all the problems, if you will, in one location.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to have a conversation with you. Because if there is not support on this approach, you need to let me know now. Because with all due respect, I really don't want to go through on this partnership with the city of Olympia. When it's time to get a transaction on this property, the board has a different perspective. So I know that you have the latitude to exercise your vote as you see please, but really for me, it's important whether there's support on this approach or there isn't. Related to this, what I'm asking is the purchase of this property. Whether the city of Olympia has gone through the process of public hearing, they couldn't because they don't own the property.
No, but they could at least have
And if you made, if I didn't have the chance to read the MOU under phase 2, that outlines what the short-term and long-term use of this property, because eventually this property, what we envision as a regional housing council, is to provide an asset to build affordable housing. That is really the long term of this investment with the city of Olympia. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know the sequence of events that might lead up to it. I just hate to commit to something that the community hasn't bought off on yet, or Olympia hasn't come out and said, hey, we're doing this, we don't give a darn what you say, we're doing it. So I just don't know the answer to that, and I hate to put the cart before the horse. Do we know, has Olympia done anything yet to mitigate the process? I mean, I think they had what they figured was an easy out, to be honest with you. And I don't know that they continued on with the process. They were probably watching all the issues that we dealt with, I would guess, but I don't know that. I'm not thrilled with the way Olympia has handled this in the past. I am thrilled to hear that they're looking at doing some kind of a cleanup, you know, to get things a bit organized, because I think it's left to linger for way too long. And so I'm happy with that, but they're talking about stuff and doing stuff seems to be two different things for the city of Olympia. And that always bothers me. And so if we go out there like we're leading the charge and trying to solve the problem for Olympia that they actually developed, and all the other municipalities on the West Coast did the same thing, really. They encouraged people to come there. There's no commitment on longevity or how long they've been a resident here. I'm all for helping out our local folks. I just do not want to encourage all these out-of-staters to come here because we're too nice. That's what I'm up against. So am I ready to move forward on a purchase? No, not until I hear from Olympia that, hey, here's the plan, we got it all set. You guys want to commit X dollars to helping us with this program? Okay, that's a whole different ballgame at that point.
With all due respect, the plan is outlined on the MOU.
The plan, well, as a partner with Olympia, I'm skeptical. I guess I'm trying to make it polite, but I am skeptical. That's where
I appreciate that. So I continue to ask for direction on this phase 2.
Okay.
That's my question to you. Would you like to support this or not? Because if it's not, we just call it good. And
when you say or not, are you saying would we like to support this if everything A, B, C, D, E, and F all fall in line?
No, because it's a property that's up for sale. So, and there is no time, with all due respect, for us to go through the process in determining what the city of Olympia is going to do or not, because the property is going to be sold to another buyer.
I guess why would we want to jump into this thing with both feet when Olympia hasn't really done their due diligence on the whole process? That's my concern.
The county is not, the proposal is not to purchase entirely on the counties. It's a partnership.
I know, it's a partnership.
It's a 50-50 financial proposal.
We're trying to help.
So,
Okay.
yes.
Commissioner Mejia?
For me, yes, I support the France Anderson road site as the permanent location. So.
Commissioner Messer?
I'm just nervous, I guess, kind of some of the things Commissioner Edwards said at the beginning of his comments. You know, I know we hadn't signed an agreement with the City of Olympia, but I thought we had committed to moving forward on phase one. And then we heard heat from the community, and then we didn't. And I don't want to be in that situation again. And I agree with the county manager that there's going to be heat from the community. We heard from Mayor Selby and Anna Schlecht, who'd worked on these issues for 38 years for Olympia. There's never been a situation ever regarding the siting of homeless that hasn't drawn opposition from the immediate surrounding neighbors. I don't care what site you chose. So I'm just nervous that we're going to get halfway through this. We're going to get angry people just like we did at Carpenter. And I thought that Carpenter was not going to be that way because we had already vetted that site twice before. But even so, we had a certain amount of opposition, and the board changed its mind. And I don't want to be in that situation again. So I guess if I feel confident that I understand what the plan is, it's laid out. If it's a condition that we have some kind of, I mean, I know it's in the city of Olympia, so maybe the angry people will go to the city of Olympia meetings, not the county meetings. I don't know. And I don't really care about that, frankly, because I'm a county commissioner and I represent all of the people of this county. So I guess I just need a confidence level that this board is, or a majority of this board is committed to phase two before I'm willing to sign my name on a partnership with Olympia, irrespective of what may come out of the woodwork. And I guarantee you there will be, so I've looked at, so Commissioner Edwards said he wasn't familiar. I've driven around the site. I've done Google Earth looking at it because I was worried about this very thing. It's not quite, it's, we've tried to do something near residential area. Big opposition. Carpenter Road is a commercial corridor. We had that level of opposition. This is got a couple of offices and a couple of scattered single resident, like it's larger parcels around the parcel. So there's not as many people, but there are residences adjacent, as well as an office, at least one that I was able to see. So it may not be as many people, but it could be just as angry of people who are adjacent. And so I guess I'm going back to what Commissioner Edwards said about, do we need to have some kind of public process just so that we know what, if that's going to turn the tide on something like this, and we need to know that, then I guess let's find that out. But I don't know exactly the cart before the horse and the purchasing the property and what the timing is there. And I don't know the answer to this. I just don't want to be in a position like I was for phase one. So I would take any suggestions from the county manager or Tom or Commissioner Mejia or Commissioner Edwards is how to get us there without those problems derailing us at the 11th hour.
I understand and I respect your position, Commissioner, but we're facing is the timing. We wish that probably this property can remain available until we go through a public process, as you stated. I don't think I can guarantee that from my point of view. I don't think I can guarantee to have a public process for you to be hearing public testimony related to this particular location, because it will be a moot point at that time. I know that right now there is a potential buyer as well. And the city of Olympia, as far as I understand yesterday, sent a letter to the property owner stating there still be an interest for this property. So I understand what you're saying, I get it, but I don't think I can deliver a public process before you feel comfortable in supporting this purchase.
I have a concern I can just mention.
Yep.
I'm very concerned with the whole process that's taken place, that there is no accountability built into it. I want mandatory treatment, to be honest with you, both mental health treatment and addiction treatment. And I want a residency requirement. And the reason I want that is because I think if we hold people accountable for their actions, we're not going to have the numbers that we have today. Today, these folks, I know we hear these numbers that, I don't know, 90% of them are right here local. Well, that's because they said they were right here local. There is absolutely no verification process until we have a very serious police or medical interaction. Then we find out these folks are really from Kansas City. And I just use that as an example. And we're talking about moving our administrative activities down at 3000 Pacific Avenue. I don't know if you've been down there lately, but it's already looking like a jungle down there with these RVs and campers and moving in, and that one little business down there, now they've got cyclone fence up all the way around their place because they can't keep these people out. And so we've got an ongoing problem that is never going to get fixed until we have a change in philosophy in how we do business. And if we don't hold people accountable and force them into some type of treatment, and by doing that, those that don't want to take the treatment are going to get out of town, I guess. They're going to head elsewhere. And I want to help those that we can help. And until we make that type of a commitment, that's why I'm so enthused about Olympia finally taking some type of action. I'm not even sure it's the right action, because it is going to disperse the crowd, if you will, and not necessarily solve the problem without a change in philosophy. And so if I had an agreement from Olympia, okay, we're going to change, we're going to fingerprint everybody and find out they're local people from here, and we're going to take care of our local people from here, get them into treatment, get them on medication, try and get them a job, get them back on their feet to do something constructive. The way we're doing it now does not solve the problem. We just allow deviant behavior in the name of individual rights. And I think it's a big mistake for our community to continue down this path, and now we want to throw more money on it. Well, I don't think throwing money at it is the problem. We got to hold people accountable, then let's help who's left. And I just, buying the property, it isn't going to solve the problem. It's just going to create more open space elsewhere where these people move from, and more people are coming from Kansas City. That's just the reality of what we're up against. And we're going to continue to be up against that until we hold people accountable. And that's why I'm so hesitant to move forward on spending more money. So, anyway. But it sounds like we got 1.5 votes so far to move forward.
I'm still looking for direction.
I know.
And I hate to put this on the board, but it comes of the essence. Of all that perspective, I don't think I can deliver. First of all, I don't think I can deliver what Commissioner Edwards outlined. There's no way that I can deliver that.
Well,
and related to Commissioner Mason, I don't think I can deliver a public process before you feel comfortable on this. So really is a point of decision for you, whether you like to support a partnership with the City of Olympia to purchase France Road, Anderson Road.
I tell you what, one more quick thing. Is there any reason, has it ever been explained why the old City Hall location right up there next to the freeway, right across from Wheeler Road, why that wouldn't be an ideal situation that doesn't affect anybody. It's all fenced in, already owned by the city, right down there where there's services, and bus services, and all that. I mean, I don't understand why that location, it was good enough for us to contemplate putting a county courthouse down there and let something develop around that property. What's wrong if it's just temporary? Let's put some RVs in that location. There's probably room for 40 of them in there. And I've never heard anybody from Olympia say, oh no, that won't work because of X. No, it won't work because they don't want to solve the problem right now. That is my concern. So I'll let it go with that.
If I could just jump in and say, I have asked the city manager, Jay Burney, about that property, and he said it is being utilized and is not available. So we have asked the city of Olympia about that, the old city hall, and he said it's being utilized. So
I know, Tom, and I'm not giving you a hard time. I know you're trying, your heart's in the right spot, but I could say any property, oh, that won't work there, or it's not available. We're using it for X, Y, or Z. I don't know, they might be storing floats for the parade. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
It's
But
their
I don't
municipal
think the
court.
commitment is-
They're using the site is used by the municipal court.
Oh, I'm talking about in behind there in that big public works area. That's back in.
Behind it, they have a tiny village.
Not right in that one spot that I'm talking about. There's room. But
Anyways, so.
anyway, whole nother issue.
The question remains, commissioners.
Okay, well, let me just try to boil it down. If Commissioner Mejia is looking me in the eye and saying that I'm supporting this, regardless of what I may hear from the surrounding neighbors, I will follow through with this agreement without knowing what she may hear, then I can support it. But I need to know that that's firm, that we're, as a board, a majority of the board is firm on this. Because I don't know what we're going to hear from the surrounding neighbors. But, you know, I guess from my own personal perspective, it's in the city of Olympia. A lot of the objection we heard at some of the objection we heard at Carpenter was, don't move this out of the county, into other areas. City of Olympia should take responsibility. Well, they are. So they're committing to this site within their own jurisdiction. And that means something to me. I think that kind of mitigates a lot of the criticism we heard. So I'm willing to do it, but I do need to know that the board's firm on it.
Well, I'm firm where I'm at because.
Yeah, I know you're firm where you're at.
I don't see a policy
Mejia.
change being willing to be put forward.
I think the question was for Commissioner Mejia.
Oh, it was.
I think that all of us understand your position, Commissioner.
Okay.
I find it insulting. I think I've already given my vote on this matter, saying that I would support it. So I'm not sure what else you're wanting, Commissioner Menser. I've already stated my vote. I was the first one who said yes. So.
And you stated your vote. You stated your vote earlier about phase 1 and going forward with the MOU, and then that was not your final vote.
Yes, and that was before previous information about an appeal process came up, which I laid out very clearly. It would just, the timeline just didn't make sense afterwards. So, you know, I've been very clear on it the whole time. I've had multiple conversations, both with the public, with Providence, with the city of Olympia on this whole issue. And, you know, I am very frustrated. I've laid out my vote, and, you know, how you vote, it's your choice.
Okay.
So that's
Well,
all I'm going to say.
A whole slew of citizens came in last week or 2 weeks ago believing you changed your vote because they pressured you. So whether that was true or not true, that's what they believed, and that's what they said in a public comment, swiveling to me. And
No, sir.
I felt very upset.
They thanked me because I showed up to a meeting. I made myself available and showed up to a meeting and went and talked to them. That's why they thanked me. They thanked me because I showed up as an elected official to hear their complaints. Not because I changed my mind, but because I showed up.
Okay, Commissioners, thank you for the passionate feedback.
I just want to make one comment. It does take courage to show up when you know you're facing an adversarial situation. I just like to go with that.
So, Commissioner Messer?
I'm not ready to move forward. I need some time to think about this. So
okay.
I'm not ready to give that forward movement today.
So I will bring this item next week if it's still is properly available. Thank you.
Next item is Capitol Lake Deschutes Estuary.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. This particular item is related to the EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement. The state is going through the process and finalizing that. As you may recall, the board provided some feedback related to the EIS. Here recently, the Department of Enterprise Services has requested each jurisdiction to provide a little more detail related to the many different options they have included on the EIS. Attached in your packet is a little table where they're requesting a unified perspective, not necessarily a legislative vote, it's just unified perspective from Thurston County. So I have a proposal for you to follow. With your concurrence, if you can give me your rankings on this table to me, what I will do, I will combine those different rankings. I will average that, and the result of the average, I will submit that to the Enterprise Services as to what the position is from Thurston County. Are you looking for that?
I don't have a blank one.
Is this under this packet? Is it start with an email? Yes. So if you flip back, there is that one.
Okay.
So please give me your feedback on this by December 3rd. And just, if you can just go through this process, bubble your preference. It has a ranking from 1 to 10. It's pretty self-explanatory. And I will get that, consolidate your combined average, and I'll send a letter to the state, and that will be the county's position or recommendation of, and again, you're not voting on this, it's just providing a perspective with the three options. And that will give me enough time to meet the deadline of December 17th to provide that feedback.
Commissioner Edwards?
I'm going to note and vote, or whatever you want to call it, as you've requested, but I just want to point out that there are so many variables, so many unknowns that we don't know. You know, we're kind of throwing a dart at the chart here and seeing where we end up. I mean, so I just want to let the public know we go through a lot of gyration sometimes, and boy, this is kind of a complicated assessment when you don't know even close to half the facts.
You're absolutely on point. And this is the similar process the Enterprise Services is going to be following. Is they're going to combine all the perspectives from the different jurisdictions and then come up with something. There is not a decision. It's going to help us for them to identify what the preferred alternative will be when they drop to the final EIS.
They want it strictly with this, like on a managed lake. Well, I don't know how you have a managed lake if you don't dredge. But is that just kind of part of it? That's the thinking? Okay. Okay.
Okay, so you don't need to do that right now.
I'm ready.
3rd.
Sure, and I'll sign it. I don't mind.
So I would just suggest in the letter that you write, one of the concerns that came up over the few weeks was the fact that we have no idea still on what commitment we'd be expected to make on funding the ongoing.
Thank you. That's going to be specifically in the letter.
Yes.
That at this point, this doesn't mean that the county is committing to any financial obligations.
Exactly.
That is absolutely important.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I just point out that they really want the narrative answers as well regarding what factors would increase or decrease your support for each narrative. And I would also request that the letter, Ramiro, I think I already asked you this, but that the letter be really clear that the position that you're going to come up with that's average is not, or does not reflect the individual positions of any one commissioner.
Absolutely, and this is just what I'm going to capture is just the assessment from the county's point of view, not necessarily reflecting each commissioner, because you're not taking a legislative action on this. Thank you.
Okay, does that cover that item?
Yes, sir.
Item 3 is Thurston County Climate Mitigation Plan, ILA Phase 3 or Phase 4?
I think it's phase 3, but I have the ILA in front of you, and this is the next step. And just to bring it up to speed, and more for Commissioner Mejia, Commissioner Edwards, attaching your packet is they continue the partnership with the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan in coordination with TRPC. This particular agreement has 3 major task deliverables outlined in the attachment that I provided to you. And the contribution at this point is $60,660. And I will ask to, again, the interlocal agreement is pretty much the same what you have approved in the past. This amendment is just continues to what it calls the phase 3 or phase 4, my apologies. It just continue with the process.
So it is phase 4?
Commissioner, is it phase 3 or phase 4? Please help me out.
So, yeah, just a little update here. It's phase 4.
Okay.
We're in phase 3 right now.
Okay, thank you.
The amount, so there's we had a long meeting yesterday discussing the details. The status quo for the climate process to kind of keep doing what it's doing now, the jurisdictional contribution would be $55,000. 60 must be revised because everybody kept saying 60, but it's 55. Okay. There's another proposal to add some regional items, like some implementation of regional items. That would have bumped things up to like from 55 to 98. But after committee discussion, we agreed to basically scale a lot of those back. So I think we're gonna get a revised number that's gonna be more like somewhere between 55 and 70, maybe something like that, maybe 70,000, and that would be to do everything we're doing now, plus a couple of implementation and kind of adding to the work program. Every year we're going to discuss a regional work program as a committee, and then see if there's appetite or dollars to do more than just kind of what we call the standing items. So standing items are 55,000 for 2022. There might be a proposal to add a little bit, but not as much as originally because we scaled that way back yesterday. And those dollars are going to be developed, and we'll get an email about that here in the next week or so. But the main thing is to look at the structure of the ILA and whether you're comfortable with and this really pretty much tracks what we did for phase 3. There aren't a lot of major differences.
There is no differences. What it changes is really the next step is the deliverables outlined on the scope of work, as you stated, Commissioner. So, with your concurrence, not only that perhaps some additional revisions might be coming, I will bring this item for a formal action on next Tuesday, and then we'll have the opportunity to give that direction. Since this is an amendment to an interlocal agreement, you need to take a formal action on that.
Is there commitment from every other group that's participating?
Every single partner has budgeted and committed to the standing items, the 55,000. We just debated whether the group could agree on a little more for a few other items, and we didn't get finality on that. But everybody's committed to at least the the 55,000 standing item interlope, ILA phase 4. It's a 3-year agreement. But the work program will be revisited each year.
I guess I'm inclined to support it if I knew kind of I'd like to know a little more about what we're getting for the expenditure I know it's laid out here, but I mean, it's kind of talking about almost hypothetical or, what we're really going to get. Are we going to get 10 electric charging stations or whatever? I mean, I'm just using that as an example. We're going to commit to 10% of our fleet to be electric. What? I mean, that's kind of what I'm wondering. Can you give us that in a nutshell, what you think the end result's going to be? Because you're on that committee.
Your comments are very similar to other comments that were made, and we discussed this. The best I can do is kind of show you the work plan structure, what the standing items are, and then what the proposed additional items are. Let me find that here. Let's see, scope of work. Okay, so the standing items include coordinating and oversight of all the committees that are involved, developing an annual list of regional initiatives to be included in the work program, and then monitoring the completion of the initiatives, doing the monitoring and assessment of greenhouse gas inventory, and public outreach, which includes a climate advisory work group that will help inform the work of the Climate Action Steering Committee. That's kind of the basic scheme. And then the additional items that we were talking about, one of them is the energy efficiency program that this board has already allocated resources toward. A second one is the looking at the cost for the cost assessment study on all electric housing commercial development that we're working with Tumwater and Olympia on. A third one is carbon sequestration. So we have a white paper we already paid for the white paper. It hasn't been presented to the committee yet, but the idea would be to take recommendations out of that and try to put together a program related to carbon sequestration. We don't really know what that looks like yet because we haven't had the presentation to the committee of the phase 3 piece, but we know there will be recommended actions. And then the fourth one is financing strategy. So this is doing a little work to try to figure out long-term funding to try to create resources for the implementation actions. There's a whole bunch of other options that were thought about, creating green building incentive program, a model policy for green building to try to get public buildings to follow green building, commercial energy efficiency research. These were things that are probably going to be added to future work programs. They weren't added for 2022. Carolyn Cox from Lacey, for example, made this exact point that you're making, Commissioner, and said, the public's really going to want to see tangible result of what is exact, like 10 charging stations, or your example is a good one, just in terms of, and so we're going to be thinking ways around trying to meet that type of a deliverable or a measurable, just because you're right, the public's going to want to see tangible result from all of this work that we put in place.
I can say from one of the benefits of being older, I guess, I can remember in Los Angeles, the Grapevine, for an example, when you used to come down and it had all that smog, around town, or the Tacoma aroma, when we had a smelter going in Tacoma. You'd come down the hill there by the hospital and gee, many Christmas, it was just yellow. So that would be an accomplishment to fix that as an example. Now, I don't know what we're going to fix here because we have pretty good clean air blowing through here all the time. We don't have a bowl like either one of those locations, so to speak. But I am concerned that we come up with I guess I'm in agreement with Carolyn. We don't always agree on stuff, but I think I agree with her in that regard, that we need to have something to show because, I have to say the global summit thing didn't come up with much, you know. We're gonna reduce coal burning in the next 100 years. Well, is that really gonna do anything towards what we're trying to solve? You know, and I kind of want to get away from those type of deals and come up with something that substantial. I mean, we're talking about thermal pane windows or something. I mean, that'd be a big, we don't even have thermal pane windows here in our own courthouse, you know, so we make a commitment that we'd do that during our remodel or whatever it is. So
let's put solar panels on our new auditor building, for example.
yeah, or something like that, yeah. But I just don't hardly see that we can, I even question the ability to go all electric and disregard gas, because they're also talking about tearing down the Snake River dams and stuff like that. So how do those two things tie in and make sense that it becomes something that we can truly accomplish? So that's kind of what I'm struggling with on it. I appreciate your commitment to trying to get something done. It's a heck of a job to try and figure that one out too. Anyway.
Anything, Commissioner Mejia?
No, I'll just say I'll review it and then be waiting for the new changes that come through.
Yeah, I will bring this item for your consideration next week, and at that point, the board will decide whether you'd like to move on or not.
I do think it's important that we play team ball with the rest of the jurisdictions, but what that entails, you know. And what those accomplishments are. So that's it.
Let's move. Appreciate that. We'll take that up next week. Let's look at the resolution on racial equity and inclusion.
Commissioner, for your consideration, I know that Nicole is waiting. I can probably bring this item next week during Tuesday morning on the 30th, considering that we have a couple items still need to go through.
Okay, Nicole, you just got bumped for a week. Thank you. Sorry. All right. Then let's take up that Tenino item that you mentioned, County Manager.
Yeah. And this is, I believe, each one of you have received a request for a letter of support for Tenine Hotel, and that letter of support is related to for them to submit an application to the broadband office of the state to get grant funding for their proposal. So I'm going to provide a couple of thoughts. As you may recall, the board signed a letter of commitment, not just of support, within this Nisqually tribe. When you sign that letter of commitment to take a potential partnership within this Nisqually tribe, what I believe the undertone of that proposal was the Nisqually tribe was going to be provided an affordable services to those areas of the county that have not been served by broadband in the past, mainly low income and mainly rural areas of the county. And as we come along, there's going to be, obviously there's a lot of money coming in, and not just from the federal government, from the state related to broadband. So there's a lot of businesses that provide services that would like to get access to those grants. I'm not here to undermine any particular proposal from the Tenino Tail, but the services is quite a bit more than what the Nisqually tribe is proposing. So the question that I have is for you is when you consider a letter of support, what is the value that you need to exercise when you support a specific venture? In this case, is the value of providing services, affordable services to broadband to those areas of the county that have not been in the past been given the opportunity, mainly low income, or perhaps is the business ventures that some other outfits may like to take on this process. So one of the requirements, I believe, for any outfit or any business to access grants from the state broadband access is they need to secure a letter of support from the broadband action team. As you may recall, we had early conversations in the year as to the importance for the county to stand a broadband action team just to make sure that we align the opportunities to get access to state grants. So the broadband action team was formed in April 13, 2021. The membership of this broadband action team is the Thurston Regional Planning Council, the Port of Olympia, the Nisqually Tribe, the Thurston EDC, the Thurston PUD, and Thurston County. Through this process, they have met and they have laid out a couple of pieces of criteria as to when the broadband action team can provide a letter of support to any potential applicant. The criteria number one is the applicant meets the minimum requirements of the grant. And the second is the applicant demonstrate an effort to coordinate the project with other broadband projects partners in their community, is the willingness to cooperate with others. They have reviewed the proposal from Tenino Tel, the broadband action team, and yesterday the broadband action team declined to provide a letter of support to Tenino Tel because from their perspective, they didn't meet criteria number 2. Which is the applicant demonstrate an effort to coordinate the project with other broadband partners in their community. And I believe one of the issues is the Nisqually Tribe submitted a grant application to provide services to the Chehalis Tribe, and Tenino Tel appealed that particular application. So I think that was one of the elements. The broadband action team declined to provide a letter of support to Tenino Tel. So I just leave it there, and you can move as you deem appropriate.
Commissioner Edwards' hand?
Yeah. Am I jumping?
Go ahead, I have questions. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Here's my concern on this. And this is a letter that I've written this morning, actually. And I think it's really important that the partnership, the agreement that we're talking about working with the Nisqually Tribe, I think that's great. I want to do that. But there's a private vendor in there, and that private vendor's name is Wave. That's the only thing I know about them. I don't know anything about it. I guess they're kind of like a Comcast or something like that. I really don't know. And they're going to be working with the tribe. My concern has been that we not get involved in an exclusive arrangement with any one entity or organization, because then we are picking winners and losers. And I'm concerned about that. Now, back on the 4th of November, I think it was, I don't think the county manager was here, I don't believe. We had a discussion amongst the board about getting a legal opinion on that topic, kind of from Elizabeth. And I think we were all waiting maybe until Romero got back from his situation. And so maybe that's yet to come, because if you look at the meeting of November 4th, it was pretty apparent that all 3 commissioners were interested in making sure that we didn't fall into troubled waters, so to speak.
So I can address that.
Yeah.
There is really, if I may,
Yeah.
there is not a need for a legal opinion because we don't have a binding document.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just a concept of where we might be going.
It is for you to manage perceptions. And that's my point from the beginning, is you have committed to a partnership with the Nisqually Tribe, whether you consider submitting this letter to a competitor.
Yeah.
That's really within your purview. There is nothing, a legal binding element that you need to consider whether you want to support Tenino Tel or not. For me, is making sure that you manage those relationships within the Nisqually Tribe, because you have formally supported their project and formally you stated that you intend to partner with them. So within that context, there is not a legal element that you may want to consider whether you'd like to submit a letter of support to Tenino Tel or not.
Okay, so let me just continue with that explanation in hand. there's a big difference to me between formally and exclusively. And so my concern, and I believe it's the concern of the President of the United States and the Congress, that we do everything we can to enhance broadband service in Thurston County, to provide as many people as we possibly can. I look at this almost like back in the rural electrification days of the 1920s, when that was a new technology that was going out, and the government participated heavily in that, trying to get that out and throughout the community. And then along came the telephone and the same kind of a thing. Well, now we're having new technology development, which is broadband, and it's going to benefit our society. So I want to just read this really quick letter that I've drafted. I'm not saying it, I'm locked in on it, but this is to the telephone company in Tenino that has asked me for my support. Now, why they asked me and didn't come to the rest of you, I don't know. Maybe I've been around forever and people tend to do that. But I'm just saying, the president down there, and then reference your request of a letter to support to your expanding of broadband to your customer base. It is my goal, I'd say, okay, so dear President, it is my goal to expand the ability of affordable broadband access to as many Thurston County citizens as possible. To that end, I look forward to working with Tenino Telephone Company and as many other providers as possible toward accomplishing this effort. And I mean, both public and private. And I just sign off wishing you success for the benefit of the citizens of Thurston County. I'm not locked into doing anything. I want us, I think it behooves us as elected officials to do everything we can to expedite the process of expanding broadband to every citizen in Thurston County. But I want to make sure we do it all legal and we don't pick winners or losers or get exclusive. And anybody that comes to us and boy, they're talking about billions of dollars coming from the federal level to enhance broadband throughout the United States. And I think we ought to take advantage of it and not particularly wait for one group to do maybe everything. Because one group is kind of like paving the roads. We could have one paving outfit, we'll never get them done, but we might have to do 10. Then we get them all done, and we provide the best possible product to the citizens of Thurston County. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm not saying I'm going to partner with you and give you X number of dollars or anything like that, but I certainly want people to know that we're going to do everything we can as a board, kind of to match what Congress has done, putting all this money in this pot to accomplish something. I don't want to be sitting here talking about it in 3 years saying, well, we got 1/10 of it done now. Because I don't even know. I mean, I'm obviously exaggerating. But I just think we've got a golden opportunity coming, and I don't want to alienate anybody either. I just want the whole thing to come together and work for the citizens of Thurston County. So that's kind of where I'm at on this topic. So.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
My questions are, I mean, I just recently saw this, and my questions are like, well, you know, what area are they planning to serve? Is it only for businesses? Is it for residences? And then how many? Like, do they have like an estimate of like, you know, it would cover? I just don't. I don't know any of the plan really. Just a request for the letter of support and the grant application and a letter of a copy of a letter of support that Mason County did for, you know, their company over there. So for me, I was just, you know, there wasn't really a lot of information there of, you know, the whole picture of this. And
I agree. It was a little bit different when the Nisqually came and gave you specifics as to what areas they're planning to serve through this potential partnership. So I am not in the position to answer those questions for you related to the request from United Hotel.
I might mention that the reason this is kind of coming up now, I was told, I guess last week or maybe yesterday, I don't know, it blends together, that they were up against a deadline to make their submission. And I know sometimes the government if you miss the submission date, you're out of the picture here for another year. We can't talk to you until next year. So that's why it's kind of coming forward now with my very simplistic proposal of, I'll be a cheerleader for you. Yeah, go out there and do the best you can for the citizens of the county. And that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Could I provide a path forward, commissioners? My suggestion.
Right of what?
A path forward on this request.
Go ahead.
Maybe you can exercise your own due diligence, whether you like to submit individual letter of support to this particular option.
Kind of like we did with the Squaxin Island Trust application.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think I have enough information to address your questions. The timeline is coming. So if you feel that you have enough information, apparently Commissioner Edwards has, then you may exercise your individual letter of support.
Well, this is not just for the Tenino Telephone Company. To me, it's anybody, another group that contacted me was Comcast. And, you know, they're all going to be competitors. But to me, when you have competitors trying to accomplish something, you get a better deal, you know, and you get the project done quicker. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. If I get a request from, I don't know, Google to, you know, I'm going to work with them too. I want it to work for the citizens of the county, so, not for any one entity.
I understand. Let me offer you my personal perspective.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it goes back to the initial statements as to what the board's value should be when you support any particular effort. Let's take the Nisqually tribe and let's take Comcast. There's going to be a lot of money to build infrastructure, and that's what they're after. And the question is going to be, when the infrastructure is built and then the access is available to those individuals who have not been able to get broadband, right? Comcast is going to price out the access. And I have to tell you, the cost of accessing Comcast, even with the infrastructure in place, almost most of us cannot afford. So is that the approach versus the Nisqually tribe, which is somewhat of a bundle? They allow access for an affordable cost on a monthly basis. To give you a perspective, the proposal we received from the Nisqually tribe is 150 bits per second. That's a high speed access. And they have a $59 a month. Comcast for the same service is close to 120, if not more. And that's what you need to weigh in as to what is it that you're going to be supporting in this. Is that really is building infrastructure or really providing services to those who have not been able to afford in the past? I spoke in my piece.
And I think this is all good discussion. I mean, the reason I was kind of requesting, you know, you weren't here at that point in time, but a review by Elizabeth was not that I just don't want to get locked in a situation where we are exclusively doing business. And I guess I'm going to use an example going all the way back to the 1860s and 70s when the country decided to the government decided to build a railroad from the West Coast to the East Coast. And they didn't have one outfit do it because they knew they'd be chugging along for, you know, 10 or 15 years trying to get there. But they did that in a couple of years because they had different segments built by different groups. And I'm kind of looking at that from that perspective of trying to accomplish the goal as soon as we can. I heard from more school administrators about what a bum deal this whole thing was on trying to educate our kids from home because so many people did not have access, you know, so there was quite a group that was left out. And I don't know if we're ever gonna recover.
Mainly low income.
Yeah, you're right.
Mainly low.
I agree with that.
Still won't have access.
Well,
Because they
but
won't be able to afford it.
except when the government put in the rural electrification program, they compensated individuals so that they could afford it. So they put certain requirements in. Like you had to have an electric stove, that was one of the new things you had to have, and you had to have an electric light. Some people just put in one bulb and they put an electric stove in. And that met the requirement to get that very expensive line brought to their location to continue. And I think we're still in that situation. We're just expanding technology, and I want to make sure that I'm encouraging all entities that have the capability of enhancing our grid, so to speak, to participating. I don't want to squeeze anybody out. I believe that if we get the infrastructure in, there will probably be mechanisms in place to help those on the lower end of the scale. I don't know that, but I think we're all kind of guessing at what's going on. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's why, I mean, I'm not committing to giving anybody any money, but I am committing that I'm kind of not going to be exclusively locked in with anybody. I'm willing to help all comers. We need to get this done. The one thing I hate to have happen is we end up in a bureaucratic quagmire, and next year we're sitting here, hey, did we get any of that in yet? You know, that kind of thing. I just want to get it done, and I think by us being supportive of all comers, gosh.
So what I'm hearing
Can't
is
lose.
the individual commissioners will exercise
Oh,
their.
yeah, I mean, I'm good with this, but if my seatmates want to do something different, that's fine too. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what I was doing.
Correct.
And,
Loud and clear, Commissioner.
and for you, I didn't finish, you know, you were gonna be gone. I didn't want to bring this up when you weren't gonna be available to defend yourself, so to speak. So-
Defend myself.
No, it's
No,
not.
that's the next item on the agenda.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Let's, it's after 12 and we have an executive session, so we should probably move to that.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner, Messer, would you like to join us in the boardroom for the executive session? I have
Yeah.
Elizabeth and Maria here.
That sounds good.
So can you highlight the executive session?
Yeah, I'll do that. We're going to move into executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-1101F to receive and evaluate complaints or charges brought against a public office or employee, specifically the county manager. Commissioner action may follow. We need
30 minutes?
20 minutes? 30 minutes is going to be allotted for this.
Order lunch.
We will come back and see where we're at. Thank you.
Let me close the room.